Hi, this is my final project for our online theater class. So, when I was in ninth grade, just starting out ninth grade, my family decided to move to England, Leamington Spa, England, because we have family over here. And the flight itself was roughly 9 hours, and I remember it being unbelievably uncomfortable. Probably it was due to the fact that sitting on a plane in small, tight seats with right next to your family isn't, the most ideal thing to do. But finally, we arrived. I stepped off the plane, I smelled the cold, brisk air, and I knew I was in a new country, and there were countless new experiences for me to experience. Well, as soon as I got there, the school year had just started, and in the US, I would be in ninth grade, but over there, they called it year 10. And so, I was just starting out the school year, and luckily, I had a stepsister who was my age in my grade. And I had taken quite a few classes that semester with her. Now, starting off, obviously, I didn't know a whole lot of people, but luckily, my stepsister helped me acclimate into the English system. That way I could familiarize myself and try and better understand the curriculum that was standardized in England. This actually also helped me develop new friends and meet new people. Well, unfortunately, one thing I learned quite quickly was that a lot of people over there were only interested in me specifically because I was the American student. In Leamington Spa, there weren't too many Americans living there. And, well, more specifically at the school I was going to, I was the only American at the school. So, after about a month of talking to countless people, because everybody wanted to hear me talk due to my American accent, I finally found a group of friends that I would later find out to be actual genuine friends and not people only interested in me simply because I was American. Well, unfortunately, those group of genuine friends were the bad kids. They were the troublemakers, the drug users, the rebels to authority. But unlike most other people at that school, I could actually genuinely call them friends because they weren't just interested in me because I was American. So, after about a month of being friends with this new group, it was October, Halloween, and there were parties going on all across the city. And being the only American student there and having a popular stepsister at the school, I had numerous connections and was invited to all of the Halloween parties. Now, these parties were, stereotypical high school parties, but more intense. In England, they don't hold back, meaning not only is there alcohol everywhere, but there's drugs, there's topless women, and whatever. Well, I went to several different parties and didn't really feel too satisfied. I mean, it was cool, being in a new environment, seeing new things, and experiencing all that stuff. But I still wasn't quite satisfied. Well, fortunately, my new group of friends had connections in London. So I decided to go with them on a trip to London to this awesome secret party that they told me about. And we booked the next train to London, and we got there early in the morning. We spent the day going through the streets of London, and I saw new restaurants, new people, new sights. It was amazing. I had never been to a big city like London before. Well, we finally got to the bus station in the evening, probably around 6 o'clock, and I just couldn't contain myself with all the excitement. I was so ready to go to this awesome new secret party that they kept going on about. And they were telling me stories of the years before that they went to this party, and they were telling me that this party isn't just a Halloween party. In fact, they throw parties all year round, which only fueled my excitement. I finally got on the bus, and it felt like it took hours to get there, but in reality, it probably took like 10, 20 minutes. We got off the bus, and we finally reached a block ahead, and I could hear pounding music. We walked around the corner, and I just saw lines of people in cars all down the street, and I was taken back, blown away by this sight, because I had never seen a house party like this. I mean, there were just countless people at this party. Well, fortunately, my friends had connections, and we managed to get to the front of the line and go through not the front door, but another door, which we had. My friend had to say some sort of password to get in. And when I walked in for the first 10 minutes, my ears were ringing. They felt shell shocked, and I couldn't hear until 10 minutes later when I could actually, well, my ears and my system acclimated to the environment. There were beautiful women, drugs, alcohol, loud music, awesome lights everywhere. Well, unfortunately, I managed to be separated from my group of friends, and I was left to my own device. I found some alcohol, and at this point, I was pretty intoxicated. Well, I managed to work up the courage to walk up to a beautiful group of women, one of which I had actually set my eyes on. And lucky for me, she actually felt the same way back. So we began talking for about 30 minutes, and I realized just how incredibly intelligent this woman was. Well, unfortunately, she told me to come outside with her, and she rolled up a blunt, which didn't really shock me or surprise me because I had smoked weed before. But after we smoked that blunt, she pulled out a bag of some kind of brown substance, and I was just confused. So she pulled out a line, did one herself, and I was just taken back by the audacity of her. I mean, is she gonna force me to do this? Does she want me to do this? Well, already being intoxicated and wanting to desperately fit in, I gave in, and she poured me a line and told me to do it, and I did it. Well, I was so intoxicated that I had to sit on the couch for 2 hours in a state of blissful happiness. I wasn't asleep, but I was not very conscious. Well, when I awoke from my trance, I looked around the party searching for my friends, and they were nowhere to be found, so I assumed they just left me. I looked at my phone, and it had died, so I couldn't call them or contact anybody. So I walked outside the party while being incredibly still intoxicated, and I was lost, scared, alone. I didn't know what I had just taken. I was intoxicated. I'm in a big city where I know nothing. I don't know how to get back home. I have no means of contacting my family. So I finally managed to make my way to bridge which had lighting under it, and I was curious. So I approached this group of people, which turned out to be homeless people living under the bridge, and I met an old man who was very kind and sympathetic to my situation. I didn't tell him my whole story, but I had a feeling that he had been around the block a few times, so he knew exactly what I had done. Well, he gave me a spare sleeping bag, and I spent the night under the bridge with this new group of homeless people I had just been welcomed into. And he told me he would walk me to the nearest train station as soon as I woke up in the morning. Well, 9 o'clock exactly, I woke up, and there he was with a cup of coffee in his hand. And he told me that we should get moving soon because the nearest or soonest um, train heading back to my town, Leamington Spa, was going to be leaving at 10 o'clock. So I followed him, and I was incredibly grateful for his kindness. We finally made it way back to the train station. This was a different train station from the one I actually arrived at London. But fortunately, the tickets were all the same, so I could still use the same one I had purchased prior to my arrival. Well, he bid me farewell, and I gave him my phone number and told him I was going to wire him $100 as soon as I got back. Money I had saved up before I made this trip to England. So, on the train ride back, I had so much to think about. Later, I had actually figured out that what I had taken at that party was in fact heroin, and I was astonished. And this gave me so much to think about over the course of the next year that I would spend living in England. And I was deeply troubled by this. I was troubled by all that just happened, the fact that my genuine friends betrayed me, and that I could never truly find true friendship in anybody. And I learned that people are only out to serve their own interests. And after, although it wasn't all bad because I had actually experienced all of this stuff